As I said, this is part 13 of History of the Hebrew People, the descendants of Abram, Yitzchak, and of Yaakov, those who Yah selected by covenant to be his. And I think before we go to the PowerPoint, there is something I want you to listen to. Everybody's familiar with Tehillim 137, the song that was sung by the rivers of Babylon. And I found this song by yes, of course, Joshua Aaron. And I just stumbled upon it. I didn't know that he sang it, but I got to give it to him. He's a brother. Okay. This nice song I want you to listen to before we get into the PowerPoint tonight. And run that again. We want Joshua Aaron. And listen to his song. He's prophesying in song.
Alexander song, you know.
We're not hearing anything. Well, I'm not.
Same here, Vivek.
You can't hear anything, eh? Yeah, there's no audio on
There's no audio?
No,
boy.
none, zero.
Is that with everybody?
Yes, I can't hear anything neither.
Yeah, I
Yes, Wow.
same here.
Okay. Well, this is a beautiful song, and I really wish
You
I have
could
to
send
figure out. Pardon?
later on if you want to send it in the group.
Yes, because this is a song that I think that we should be listening. We should be listening to specifically because of the message in it, and the message is so appropriate for today. So he has a special rendition of By the Rivers of Babylon, telling the story, and it really touches your heart. It puts you in the place of our ancestors and makes you feel the pain for our going astray. And I say our because you feel the collective conscious actually emanating in the song that makes you feel that you are a part of what is going on and you are a part of what Yahweh desires to correct. So with that, I will definitely send that in the chat and we can listen to that in our meditation. Okay, stop sharing. There we go. We're back. So what I'll do is we'll go straight to the PowerPoint now. But remember that was about Tehillim 137, By the Rivers of Babylon. And as was said, we are on part 13. Let's get excited. And I would like, please, Zakat Eliyahu, do you mind reading the first passage, Tehillim 137, 1 through 9, please? Imavik, The second one, Yeshayahu 39, 5 through 8. And Ako Deborah. I want to hear your voice on the screen. Yeremiah 7, 1 through 15. Okay. That's everybody. Listen. Listen to the words that are being said, because all of these are not just literature. These are active words for the day. But we want to start with what our ancestors felt when they were being punished for disobedience to the Torah. And we will feel their pain and understand our own pain, having been placed in exile right now because of, again, our ancestors' disobedience and what we've learned from them. So our first scripture that we want to start with is Tehillim 137, 1 through 9. Sakan?
I'm sorry, I'm reading and I forgot my mic. Sorry.
Don't work with it. You see me do it all the time. Okay.
I'll begin again.
Yes.
By the rivers of Babel, there we sat down and we wept as we remembered Zion. We hung our lyres upon the willows in the midst of it. For there our captors asked us for the words of a song, and our plunderers for rejoicing. Sing to us a song of Zion. How could we sing the song of Yahweh on foreign land? If I forget you, O Yerushalayim, let my right hand forget. Let my tongue cling to my palate. If I do not remember you, if I do not exalt Yerushalayim above my chief joy. Remember, O Yahweh, against the sons of Edom, the day of Yerushalayim, who said, lay it bare to its foundation. O daughter of Babel, who are to be destroyed. Baruch is he who repays you your deed, what you did to us. Baruch is he who shall Baruch is he who shall take and dash your little ones against the rock. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Thank you very much. Do you realize that the writer of this Tehillim is not David, but is actually one of the ancestors in exile in Babylon, retelling the story of what happened. And he's talking about the little children being dashed against the stone during the siege and captivity of Jerusalem. The Babylonians, without consideration to gender, age, or any matter, callous toward the people. And the hearts of the people are so broken, having delved in idolatry. And now the captors are asking them to sing the songs of Yahweh while they're in captivity, the songs of joy while they're in exile. Think about this. We who have had our history taken away from us and given another history to reprogram us in the opposite and contradictory way than the covenant that should govern us had commanded us to move in. Deborah, while we're going through this, you'll see also that even though this is happening almost 1,000 years after Moshe, that what Moshe said by the power of the Ruach HaKodesh in Deborah in Deuteronomy chapter 28 is so poignant, so important. It has stretched generations to complete what was spoken. But praise be to Yahweh that the book of Deborah did not stop at chapter 28. In chapter 30, it spoke of the last days. And I don't want to get ahead of myself with that. But this is our history that I pray that the Ruach HaKodesh would make alive in us. A history that we were never allowed to absorb and appreciate and to feel belonging and foundation. Now it's coming. And now let us allow that foundation to be established so that we know that we are not foreigners to the covenant, but we are children returning to the very covenant that was given to our father Abram, our father Yitzchak, and our father Yaakov. Praise Yah. Now, Imavik, Yeshayahu, please.
Okay. So Yeshayahu said to Hizkiyahu, here's a word of Yahweh of hosts. See, the days are coming when all that is in your house and what your fathers have stored up until this day shall be taken away to Babel. Not a matter shall be left, declares Yahweh. And they shall take some of your sons who are born to you, whom you bring forth, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the sovereign of Babel. And Hizkiyahu said to Yeshayahu, the word of Yahweh, which you have spoken, is good. And he said, because there is peace and truth in my days.
Thank you, Imavik. Now, Hezekiah, as righteous as a king he was for Yehuda, really was concerned about himself in that instance. He showed to the emissaries of Babylon, and this is long before Babylon became the power and authority that would later come and squash that whole area, including Yehuda. This was after the northern kingdom was already taken, exiled and scattered. And some had gone down into the southern kingdom. Yeshayahu in the time of Hezekiah, and remember, in the time of Hezekiah, there were about 3 or 4 other kings that came after him. So this was a time of peace, but the prophet is prophesying that in a little while in later generations, Babylon is coming to take everything from Yirmiyahu. Now, this brings up a very interesting point here because people often talk about predestination. And if Yahweh knew beforehand, why did he allow? Yes, Yahweh knew beforehand, and he doesn't allow, he gives choices. He allows time to elapse so that people can engage those choices to have an opportunity to turn. But he knows that even in doing so, the end result. So he doesn't influence it unless the individual asks him to step in to make the change. And that did not happen for our ancestors in Yehuda. Instead, from the time after Hezekiah came, you'd see that they went from evil to evil to evil, even up until the time that Jehoiakim was taken into captivity by Nebuchadnezzar. Now that was read there specifically to put perspective that even before, long before, Babel was a power to take Yehuda and Mitzrayim, as a matter of fact, well, not take them, but subject them. That Yah had already had in plan the motion, especially for the house of Israel, because there's covenanted people. He has everything directed and shows through his servant. So they could relay it to his people, and they take courage and direction from it. Now, we're going to go to, and Yeshayahu was way before the Babylonian captivity, but Yirmiyahu was in Yehuda, as we knew from last week's study, that Yirmiyahu was in Babylon, and prior to the siege and captivity, and even after. And we know that he ended up in Mitzrayim. So, Akod Deborah, if you don't mind reading, please, Yirmiyahu 7, 1 through 15. Okay, just in case you're not in a place where you could read, I'm going to ask one of your sisters to read for you. Let's go to Sharet Hepzibah. Help your sister, Yirmiyahu 7, 1 through 15. I know sometimes you cannot open up your mic where you're at and you just want to catch a study, so praise Yah for that.
Okay, 1 second. Yahweh.
Yes, 7, 1 through 15.
Okay. Okay. 1 second. Yahweh. Okay. Yahweh 7.
Yes, 1 through 15.
Okay, 1 through 15. Okay. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, Stand in the gates of the house of Yahweh, and you shall proclaim there this word, and shall say, Hear the word of Yahweh, all of you of Yehuda, who enter at these gates to bow before Yahweh. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, Make your ways and your deeds good. Then I let you dwell in this place. Do not trust in these false words, saying, This is the Hakal of Yahweh, the Hakal of Yahweh, the Hakal of Yahweh. For if you truly make your ways and your deeds good, if you truly do right ruling between a man and his neighbor, if you do not oppress the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and do not shed innocent blood in this place, or walk after other mighty ones to your own evil, then I shall let you dwell in this place in the land that I give to your fathers forever and ever. See, you are trusting in false words which do not profit, stealing, murdering, and committing adultery, and swearing falsely, and burning incense to Baal, and walking after other mighty ones you have not known. And you come and stood before me in this house, which is called by my name, and said, We have been delivered in order to do all these abominations. Has this house, which you call by my name, become a den of robbers in your eyes? Look, even I myself have seen it, declares Yahweh. But go now to my place at Shiloh, where I set my name, and set my name at the first, and see what I did to it because the evil of my people Israel. And now, because you have done all these works, declares Yahweh, and I have spoken to you, rising up early and speaking, but you do not hear, and I called you, but you did not answer. I shall also do to this house, which is called by my name, in which you trust, and to this place which I give to you and your fathers, and I did, as I did to Shiloh. And I shall cast you out of my presence, and I shall cast out all your brothers, all of the seed of Ephraim.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Yirmiyahu is actually saying this even before siege works are laid to Jerusalem. Yahweh is telling Yehuda, repent, repent, repent. If you would just perform teshuvah, Nebuchadnezzar would not be able to come in and take Yehuda. But like many persons today, especially because of our programming in Christianity, we believe that once we make a verbal confession without doing the actions that should accompany it, that is all that's needed. A person can state that they are one thing and have everybody actually believing that that is what it is, but their actions are completely different. And there are some people who are so convinced that they are in the right, even though they're doing wrong, and expect Yahweh to act on their behalf. A lot of people believe that because Yahweh has not acted immediately, that he condones. But we know, brothers and sisters, that every rope with Yahweh has an end. And everybody's rope will end as an individual, as a nation. Our ancestors, their rope ended. They had to go into exile. And look at us. We are still in exile, but we are looking at the examples of the four because this is the time that the captivity of Israel is being turned, literally. This is the day that the prophecies concerning the turning of Israel is taking place. I'm saying a lot about the restoration of the house of Israel because Yahweh confirmed a lot of things to me personally, and I hope that I can share it in his Ruach with you, and you feel and see the same thing, because I am convinced that once all of those who belong to Yahweh have been sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh, that means have received the word of truth concerning Adon Yahusha, and have accepted him as Savior and Redeemer, and has turned to obedience to the Torah, that when the last person who has turned has come, then the number of Israel that Yahweh needs would be completed, because he's been gathering his people in every generation. And all of his people in every generation are his remnant seed. Up until this generation, there is a remnant seed. And the events that are occurring in our generation have not occurred in another generation, and they are specific to the return of Messiah Yahusha. Can't say exactly when, but definitely watching the signs and recognizing the signs gives you great anticipation that is coming is at the door. Okay? So, that said, now remember, and we just read from Yirmiyahu chapter 7, Short Hefzibah just read that Yah is warning Yehuda through Yirmiyahu very early in his ministry, because Yirmiyahu actually prophesied, I think, 3 kings during the reigns of 3 kings, and all of them he was warning them that if they don't turn back to the Torah, and that's the whole thing about Teshuvah, it's turning to the Torah. It's receiving the forgiveness for violating the Torah and then turning to the Torah. And that's what many people don't understand. And please forgive my interjections here, because there is so much that has to be said and understood. And that is, there are many people who believe that Teshuvah or repentance is simply saying, I'm sorry. And a lot of people say, no, it means turning. But a lot of who say that it means turning doesn't know what to turn to, because what they should turn to, they have already learned and been programmed that it's been done away with. But when we repent, we confess our transgressions against the Torah, and we turn away from transgressing the Torah to obeying the Torah. And the Ruach HaKodesh that is in us because of our belief in Messiah gives us the strength to turn. Yes, sir. Somebody was saying something just now?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay. So here we are at Yirmiyahu chapter 25, years later. And this is what Yirmiyahu is saying to Israel at the beginning of the 70-year exile to Babel. He says, and all this land shall be a ruin and a waste, and these nations shall serve the sovereign of Babel 70 years. And this is including Yehuda, Israel. And it shall be, when 70 years are completed, that I shall punish the sovereign of Babel and that nation, the land of the Castites, for the wickedness, declares Yahweh, and shall make it everlasting ruins. Now, here it is, Yirmiyahu is prophesying to Yehuda that they will go into exile for 70 years. And that even though Babel is the arm of Yah's punishment to discipline Yehuda and the other nations, that when the 70 years has ended, that means that Babylon's rope has also ended, and Yahweh is going to punish Babylon for what it did. And yes, it did carry out what Yahweh desired for it to carry it out. Still, Yahweh desired that, but they of their own will, without Yah's influence, did it. So there's penalty for that. For every action, there's a reaction. For every seed sown, there should be a reaping from that seed. What goes around comes around. I think you get the gist. That everything that is done, Yahweh does not let go. It has to be corrected, and that correction is through Teshuvah. Okay, so 70 years exile already prophesied. You're going into exile. This is how long he's going to stay in exile. Wow, that's something. And what's very interesting that in Babylon, as we learned last week, that it was the aristocracy of Jerusalem, Yehuda, that Nebuchadnezzar took. The cream of the crop he took, and those that were left were the people of the land. Made sure took everyone that had a major function in the proper functioning of Yehuda, whether it's the priesthood, the royalty and government, or the wealthy, the craftsmen, the teachers. He stripped the land of the intelligentsia, put them in Babylon, and then sought to utilize them within the Babylonian Empire. So the Yehudim that were exiled to Babylon, they actually fared much better than those left behind in the land, because those exiled were given royal positions, and many accumulated great wealth and status while in Babylon beyond what they had accrued in Yehuda. So, material things could cause you to change your mind quickly, cause you love your captor more than your liberty. And I say that to say that a lot of governments actually sell their people because they would prefer to be a captive in captivity, getting the side flow from whoever, or making money off the people, keeping the people in captivity while they don't know that they themselves are in captivity. Okay. Thought I'd throw it in there. Now, the most notable of these exiles are Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Uzziah, and Yehezkel. These men all were in Babylon at the same time. We know specifically of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Uzziah because Daniel wrote specifically about their activities while in Babylon. And when we read the book of Yehezkel, note that Yehezkel is actually prophesying in Babylon at the same that Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Uzziah are there. These remained faithful to the covenant of Yahweh and retained the culture, identity, and faith. Please look at those words: culture, identity, and faith. Without it, you have nothing. When I say you have nothing, you do not know who you are programmable. That is why it was necessary when Israel, in its last exile, to complete the curse of Devarim, chapter 28, verse 64, one of the things that the captors made sure and do, strip them of their culture, strip them, and that would include their language, their customs, their names, re-identify them as something else and program it through torture until they accepted it. That and including the faith. So even though some persons, descendants of Israel, might have come over in the transatlantic slave ships with the knowledge of who they are, it could not be expressed. It had to be suppressed, and suppressed to the point where it was forgotten because the programming that was done upon those persons from the transatlantic slave trade was so effective. And when you have men like Willie Lynch actually giving psychological advice on how to effectively reprogram, then you can see why there are so many people easily led and easily manipulated, because, like Marcus Garvey said, a man without the knowledge of his past is like a tree without roots. They have no root. So everything that is given by or forced on in the programming is what has been passed down up until now. But even that at a set time. As a matter of fact, even Willie Lynch said that the programming will only be in place for a certain length of time before there's a recalibration. Therefore, the program of keeping the captured and enslaved have to be reinforced so that it can remain in place over the years. But nothing can stop Yah's word. Yah said that while you are in captivity, these things will come to mind. That means the program will be broken. You'll recognize that there is something missing even in that which has been given to you in the programming. And you will have a longing for that which belongs in you rather than that which has been falsely placed in you by force. So just to let you know that while in exile, there were persons who did rise to the high status. And we will see this throughout the captivity and return, and even afterwards, that some of our ancestors still remain in the lands of their rulers, because Babylon will be taken out of the way and the Persian Empire will come in next. And you'll see that a lot of our people remained in the exile rather than return to Jerusalem. Now, these are the Nevi'im of the exile, the prophets of the exile. And all of this that I'm giving you here, we can actually say spans the time of 609, 610 BCE to about 500 BCE, or even a little bit more, because we're going to look, at some of the actions of those who returned from the 70-year captivity. But just to give more information of what went on during that time, there's some things that these prophets said that are so important for us to understand today. Now, these were the prophets that prophesied during the Babylonian exile. Jeremiah, who prophesied in Jerusalem before and during the exile. So he saw the whole thing transpired. I know that he didn't live up to the 70 years that was exiled, but in Mitzrayim, he would have passed off before the 70 year was up. Yehezkel, he did not have a royal position in the Babylonian court. Nevertheless, he had a very important position and mission among the exiles that were living in Babylon. So when we are reading their prophecies, we have to put them in the time zone, the time that they were in, and also in the place of influence that they were prophesying from. Because if Daniel was prophesying from Jerusalem, it would be much different than what he prophesied in Babylon. So we'd actually have to look at Daniel in Babylon and the culture and everything of Babylon to understand, especially when he's talking and referring, making references to Babylon in the prophecies. One thing that we should note, however, is that the prophecies comes from our prophets. There are no prophets in the Tanakh that is not of the house of Israel. So they are prophesying as an Israelite, and 80 to 90% of the time, their prophecies is concerning Israel. And when it is not, it has something to do with foreign nations that are affecting Israel. Okay. Now, that's Yehezkel, and then we have Daniel. Daniel, who prophesied from Babylon during the exile and even after the exile, because he not only prophesied and was in the royal court during Nebuchadnezzar's time, but also when the Medes and Persians came in. Now, there is a possibility that Obadiah, that we grew up calling Obadiah, was prophesied during this time epoch also. But there's no indication in the introduction to his book that would give us determining period of his prophecy, like the reign of a king, whether in Babylon or in Mitzrayim, or what was going on in Yehuda, to say that, oh, this is the time period. One thing that we do have, though, and also history is measured also from celestial events and terrestrial events. That is, you can have eclipses, you can have planetary alignments. All of these would have special marks, and they would use those as historical signs to help identify the historical epoch that is being recorded. Also, terrestrial events like earthquakes or other events that would have happened, natural events that would have happened, that they would mark. We have none of that in Obadiah, except the events that he addressed could suggest a possible time, and that is shortly after the fall of Jerusalem to Nebuchadnezzar. We saw where Yahweh said when I think it was Yeshayahu was talking about how Babel dashed the children against the stone, and also mentioned about the Edomites calling for destruction of Jerusalem. Obadiah speaks specifically to what the Edomites are saying. So that gives us an idea that he was around the time after Nebuchadnezzar and his army had worked atrocities in Yehuda. And he's reporting how the neighboring countries responded to it. Edom responded with rejoicing at the destruction of Yehuda. Yahweh sends a word to Edom through Obadiah. So we could put him among those prophets that prophesied along that time just based on that. Now, what is very important for us is the prophecies of the exiled prophets. It's very important to note the central theme of the Nebiim of the exile, the prophets of the exile, Jeremiah, Yehezkel, Daniel, prophesied not only for Israel in that generation, but for Israel in the latter days or the last generation. This is significant because when a prophet speaks, you should be able, by the Ruach HaKodesh, to determine when the prophecy is for. And this is how the prophets actually determine fulfillment of prophecy. And we could see this in Daniel, and we're going to get to that now. Many of them, when they recognize prophecy being fulfilled, that an action needs to take place, they initiated the action that was needed to take place. Okay? And I'll show you that as we go into the other slides. But there are three things mentioned in common by each, and they are: one, the presence of Mashiach ben David. Now, for many of us who have been returning to the way of the ancestors, the way directed by Yahweh to the Torah and the Nevi'im, we would understand that Israel expected Moshiach in two forms. One as a suffering servant, that would be Mashiach ben Yosef, and the second form is Mashiach ben David, Mashiach the conquering king. When prophecy speaks of the suffering servant, it always speaks of the work that Adon Yahusha did when he completed the appointed times of Pesach, Hagamatzah, Yom Hanafar Omer, and caused the effect of Shavuot. When it speaks of Mashiach ben David, when prophecies speak of Mashiach ben David, it's talking about his return as the conquering king who will sit on the throne of David. So what we have here in these three prophets are the mention of Mashiach ben David. That means that it is the end time. It is in the time that Mashiach come back to reign from the throne of David. first of all. Second, they both highlight, all of them highlight the restoration of Israel through the unification of Ephraim and Yehuda with Goyim. I'll say that again. Restoration of Israel through the unification, the coming back together of Ephraim and Yehuda with Goyim. You remember a couple of weeks earlier when we looked at 932 BCE, when the United Nation of Israel was divided into two. Rehoboam holding the throne of David, and Jeroboam taking the 10 tribes and establishing the northern kingdom. That Yahweh told Rehoboam that this is from him, that he did this. But these prophets are prophesying now that Yah is restoring. He's actually identifying the two nations and claiming that he will bring them back into one. And included with that is Goyim. Now, pause for a second and let what was just said sink in a bit. If Yah has already prophesied that he is going to restore Israel, the two houses, Ephraim and Yehuda, and he's bringing in Goyim, we should understand that if this was Yah's intention in the Tanakh, in the Nevi'im, from that time, we could clearly see that he had no intention of replacing Israel with the Gentile church, because he had already decided that he will bring the Goyim into Israel. He will restore Ephraim and Yehuda and bring in the Goyim. So there's no Israel in the church. All who put their trust in Adon Yahusha have been redeemed and is grafted into the olive tree of Israel. If Israelites receive their Moshiach, then they are restored to their olive tree. And that means that it's the same process for both Ephraimite, Yehudite, and Goyim to come into the olive tree of Israel. But Yah did not establish a church. This is the nation that he prophesied about. Not a replacement, but a refined restoration of the people who he made covenant with, the seed of Abram, of Yitzhak, and of Yaakov. Okay? Now, thirdly, they speak of restored Israel in the hands of Mashiach. And we have to grasp this. Restored Israel in the hands of Mashiach, fighting alongside him in the battle that inaugurates the Mashiach rule. Very important. That means Yah is restoring a people who indeed, even as the Brit Hadash, in the books of eschatology, in particular, Hazan, Revelation, it speaks of those set apart ones who are coming with Moshiach to inaugurate the Mashiach rule, that 1,000-year rule, the Atilabu. And it's so thrilling when you see the consistency of prophets speaking with such wide time gaps in their prophecies, but still it's so consistent. That's how you know that there are a lot of prophets today. They don't speak like this, and they don't speak according to the prophets of the past. They speak according to their own mind, their own whim, and according to what the listener needs to hear or want to hear, or they desire them to hear. But these 3 points are very prominent in the prophecies of these 3 prophets. And we're going to read again. Here are some examples of what I was talking about. Examples of these prophecies include, but are not limited to, the following. And I picked these out just for reading, just to show what I was saying. So I need somebody to read Jeremiah 31, 27 to 37, and I'm going to ask Shoret Aliyah. And then again, I'm going to ask Zakat Eliyahu for Yehezkel 37, 1 through 14, Imavik, verses 15 through 28 of Yehezkel 37, Shoret Hepzibah, Daniel 9, 24 through 27. Okay? Ready? Sure, Alia? Okay, sure, Alia. Your mic open?
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Okay, shalom, shalom. I almost thought I had to read for you just now.
No, I am
Okay.
31:27, you said, and 37?
Through 37, 27 through 37.
Okay.
Let's listen carefully as she reads, please.
Jeremiah 31:27 through 37. Okay. See, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, that I shall sow the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda with the seed of man and the seed of beast. And it shall be that as I have watched over them, to pluck up and to break down and to throw down and to destroy and to afflict, so I shall watch over them, to build and to plant, declares Yahweh. In those days they shall no longer say, the fathers ate sour grapes, and the children's teeth are blunted. But each one shall die for his own wickedness. Whoever eats sour grapes, his teeth shall be blunted. See, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I shall make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehuda, not like the covenant I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim. My covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them, declares Yahweh. For this is the covenant I shall make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yahweh. I shall put my Torah in their inward parts and write it on their hearts, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And no longer shall they teach each one his neighbor and each one his brother, saying, know Yahweh, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, declares Yahweh. For I shall forgive their wickedness and remember their sin no more. Thus said Yahweh, who gives the sun for a light by day, and the laws of the moon and the stars for a light by night, who stirs up the sea and its waves roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name. If these laws vanish from before me, declares Yahweh, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus said Yahweh, if the Shemayim above could be measured and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I would also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, declares Yahweh.
Praise Yahweh. That is so powerful, and it goes so much deeper than most people take it when they are expositing it. Okay? Here Yahweh states, first of all, that in the latter days, that he will make a renewed covenant. In those days, he will make a renewed covenant. And this is the covenant that he'll make. He's actually putting his Torah in the hearts. The only way that could happen is through salvation. That is how he writes the Torah on our hearts. Only when our hearts are purified by the efficacious blood of Adon Yahusha can the Torah be put on the heart, because the Torah is what is needed for Kedushim, for sanctification. That's why Adon Yahusha said in Yochanan, John 17:17, set them apart through your truth. Your word is truth. Let them walk in Kedashah through your truth. The word, your word is the truth. His word is the Torah, spoken with his own mouth at Sinai. He's writing it in the heart, not speaking it to them as he did our ancestors at Sinai, but instead putting it in the inward part so that they're able to do it. And that is why no one will need to say know Yahweh, because everybody would have had an experience of salvation to know him in that personal relationship. And that is what Jeremiah is talking about now. He's talking about Mashiach actually initiating that personal relationship through the redemptive process and writing the Torah on the heart by the Ruach HaKodesh, so that as we read the Torah and become familiar with the Torah, the Ruach HaKodesh empowers us to do what the Torah says. And that's why it's not by works, but rather by the Ruach HaKodesh, not by might, not by power, but by the Ruach HaKodesh. It is he who works out the good in us. And very important, Yahweh says, and I guess many church people don't read this, where they practice replacement theology. Yahweh says, if you can measure the heavens, Shemayim, above, if you can measure that, and you can measure the foundations of the earth and search it out beneath, only then would he cast off the seed of Israel for all that they have done. As a matter of fact, he said that he gives the sun for light by day, and the laws of the moon and the stars for light by night, and he is the one who stirs up the sea. And Yahweh of hosts is his name, Yahweh Sabaoth is his name. He further says that if these laws that he has established vanish from before him, then and only then would Israel cease from being a nation before him forever. So it goes against what being told that Yah has replaced his people. If he did, then of course Jeremiah was lying. And if Yahweh still has a people, and if those people don't know who they are, does that mean that Yahweh has chosen other people who said they are Israel, even though they're not? No. Yahweh is looking for those to whom he spoke. Those who were in the seeds, in the loins of the ancestors, receiving the covenant to themselves, even long before they were born. Just like how Levi returned tithe to Melchizedek, to Yahweh through Melchizedek in the days of Abram, and was not even born yet, but he's mentioned as having done it because he was in the loins of the one who did it. That's the same thing. Yah is speaking to those of the seed of Abraham, saying, come back to me. And he's looking for those who are not the seed of Abraham to call on him, so that he can bring all of them together. And you would note that as these prophecies, as we go through these prophecies, I want you to recall some of the things that Adon Yahusha said when he was ministering on the earth. For instance, when Jeremiah in chapter 7 spoke of making his house a den of thieves, we can actually relate now that Adon Yahusha was quoting Jeremiah from that time, that they went back to doing the same thing that brought them into exile. Okay? Now we're going to look at two more given by Yehezkel that actually runs parallel and is speaking the same thing that Jeremiah is speaking, but in a different visual way. Okay? So we're going to ask Zakat Eliyahu to read Yehezkel 37, 1 through 14, and Imavik, Yehezkel 37, 15 through 28. These are two prophecies, but both concerning the same thing. So when you're ready.
Yes. The hand of Yahweh was upon me, and took me out by the Ruach of Yahweh, and put me down in the midst of the valley, and it was filled with bones. And he made me pass among them all around, and see, there were very many on the surface of the valley, and see, they were very dry. And he said to me, Son of man, would these bones live? And I said, O Adonai, Yahweh, you know. Again he said to me, never to these bones. You shall say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus said the Adon Yahweh to these bones, see, I am bringing into you a spirit, and you shall live. And I shall put sinews on you, and bring flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put a spirit in you, and you shall live. And you shall know that I am Yahweh. And I navu, as I was commanded. And as I navu, there was a noise, and there was a rattling, and the bones came together, bone to bone. And I looked and saw sinews and flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them, but there was no spirit in them. He then said to me, Never to the spirit, never, son of man. And you shall say to the spirit, Thus saith the Adon Yahweh, Come from the four winds, O spirit, and breathe on these slain, so that they live. And I, Navu, as he commanded me, and the spirit came into them, and they lived, and stood upon their feet, a very great army. And he said to me, Son of man, these bones are all the house of Israel. See, they say, Our bones are dry, our expectancy has perished, and we ourselves have been cut off. Therefore, neither, and you shall say to them, Thus saith the Adon Yahweh, See, O my people, I am opening your graves, and shall bring you up from your graves, and you shall bring into the land, and shall bring you into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am Yahweh when I open your graves, O my people, and bring you up from your graves. And I shall put my Ruach in you, and you shall live, and I shall settle you in your own land. And you shall know that I, Yahweh, have spoken, and I have done it, declares Yahweh. Hallelujah.
Praise Yahweh, praise Yahweh. And I just want you to know that Yehezkel is prophesying from captivity. And this is the captivity of Yehuda. But when Yahweh is speaking through him, as you can see in verse 11, he is speaking to all the house of Israel. That would have included the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. All of them are void of life. But the life can only come in through salvation. So salvation is what causes the Ruach HaKodesh to come into the dead Israelites. And that can only come in through salvation, redemption. And that is the awakening of the house of Israel, the prophetic awakening of the house of Israel that has been going on for a few years now and is now intensifying. Let's continue with Imovic's portion, verses 15 to 28.
And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, And you, son of man, take a stick for yourself and write on it, for Yehuda and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write on it, for yourself the stick of Ephraim, and for the house of Israel, his companions. Then bring them together for yourself into one stick, and they shall become one in your hand. And when the children of your people speak to you, saying, Won't you show us what you mean by these? Say to them, Thus said the Master Yahweh, See, I am taking the stick of Yosef, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his companions, and I shall give them unto him with the stick of Yehuda, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. And the sticks on which you write shall be in your hand before their eyes. And speak to them, Thus said the Master Yahweh, See, I am taking the children of Israel from among the nations, wherever they have gone, and shall gather them from all around, and I shall bring them into their land. And I shall make them one nation in the land on the mountains of Israel, and one sovereign shall be sovereign over them all. And let them no longer be two nations, and let them no longer be divided into two reigns. And they shall no longer defile themselves with their idols, nor with their disgusting matters, nor with any of their transgressions. And I shall save them from all their dwelling places in which they have sinned, and I shall cleanse them, and they shall be my people, and I be their Elohim. While David my servant is sovereign over them, and they shall all have one shepherd, and walk in my right rulings, and guard my laws, and shall do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given to Yaakov my servant, where your fathers dwelt, and they shall dwell in it, they and their children and their children's children forever, and my servant David be their prince forever. And I shall make a covenant of peace with them, an everlasting covenant it is with them. And I shall place them and increase them, and shall place my set apart place in their midst forever. And my dwelling place shall be over them, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And the nation shall know that I, Yahweh, am setting Israel apart, when my set apart place is in their midst forever.
Praise Yah. And see, Yehezkel is talking not about just about the return from Babylonian exile, but he's talking about straight into the reign of Mashiach ben David. When it speaks of my prince David, my servant David, Yahweh is speaking about Yahusha, who will sit on David's throne. He
Yeah.
is saying himself that Israel will be joined and united as one nation once again. There are two sticks, but he's bringing them together. You know how he's bringing them together? Because he's doing it right now. He's bringing them together through salvation. Both Ephraim and Yehuda has to come back, return back to Yahweh through the one door, Adon Yahusha, while Gentiles, Goyim, have to come in through that same door, which is Yahusha. And this is why Yahusha said what he said in Yochanan or John 10, verse 16, where he says, and other sheep I have which are not of this fold, I have to bring them as well. And they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The very words of Yehezkel. So we're not talking about a replacement of Israel here. Yahusha is not talking about establishing a church here, like many claim that that's what he did in the book of Matthew when he spoke to Kepha. That was not what he's saying. He was talking about his called out ones, his assembly of Israel, not a church, as many have been deceived into believing, and thus further blinding themselves from their own identity and their own actualization. Because if you are Israel and you recognize that you have taken the step to return through salvation, because that is how the gathering takes place. Everyone is being gathered who has been redeemed. So once redemption takes place in the heart of an Israelite and a non-Israelite, Yah brings them into the one fold of Israel. He brings them into the one olive tree of Israel, where Yahusha is the root that bears and the good shepherd that protects. That's what I want to keep in mind. That, and you're going to see, and we're still very early in our series. We haven't reached to our day or near our day as yet. But I'm setting the foundation in the background so that everybody who experiences our study would understand that we are actually speaking and reading about and studying our history. And our history and our faith, our belief is the same. We have to return to where Yahweh wants us. And Yahweh wants us the same place he always wanted Israel. Trusting in him and keeping the covenant. Our final prophet from this time epoch is Daniel. And this will help give understanding to why and how Daniel prophesied. Daniel prophesied again about Israel. From the time Israel returned in chapter 9, he speaks of from the time you are sent back from exile to the time that that Moshiach comes back as Mashiach ben David. He mentions both Mashiach being cut off, that's Mashiach ben Yosef. But at the end, he speaks of the in 27 about the king that would actually rule. And I'm not talking about the prince of the people to come, but rather about the ruler at the end who establishes the throne. So the reader for Daniel, Shred Hepzibah, please.
70 weeks are decreed for your people and for your Kodesh city, to put an end to the transgression and to seal up sins and to cover wickedness and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up vision and Nabi and to anoint the most Kodesh. Know then and understand from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until Moshiach, the prince, is 7 weeks and 62 weeks. It shall be built again with streets and with the trench, but in times of affliction. And after the 62 weeks, Moshiach shall be cut off and have naught. And the people of a coming prince shall destroy the city and the Kodesh place. And the end of it is with a flood. And washes and wastes are decreed. Hold on one second. Yeah, and wastes are decreed and fighting until the end. And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. And in the middle of the week, he shall put an end to the slaughtering and meal offering. And on the wing of abominations he shall lay waste, even until the complete end, and that which is decreed is poured out on the one who lays waste.
Thank you very much. Now, Daniel prophesied these 70 weeks. These 70 weeks are broken up into 3 epochs. First, it's 1 week, which is equivalent to 7 years. And then you have 7 weeks, which is equivalent to 49 years. Then you have 62 weeks equals 434 years. And then you have the final 1 week, which is equal to 7 years. And all 3 of those time periods are broken up. You have the 49 years and 434 years, and then later on you have the 1 week. And these time epochs cover in period important events during this period. That's why it's broken up like that, because it's focusing on important events taking place. And I do look for the opportunity to talk about Daniel's 70th week even more and expound upon it, because there are so much things that are misunderstood concerning Daniel's 70th week. For instance, the fact that this is not a prophecy for the nations, it's a prophecy to Israel. Daniel starts by 70 weeks are decreed for your people, Israel, and for Jerusalem. So he's actually talking about the events concerning Israel, both in that time and in the latter times, in the last days, when that last, that last week is completed. So these 3 prophets prophesied about the very same thing, using their own unique style of prophecy to say the same thing in a different way. Okay? And that shows the consistency. Now, we're moving right along here, and I know time is gone. We're going to have to cut this short and continue with it later on, but must mention this. The time came that the 70 years was ended. Koresh, or Cyrus, as he's commonly called, was named in prophecy before he even existed. And the kingdom became an empire. Before his kingdom became an empire, and that would have been Persia. Persia was subject to Babylon. And in Yeshayahu 45, 1-13, Yahweh actually expresses, long before Koresh is born, long before Persia becomes a prominent empire, that there will be one who will arise, and his name will be Koresh. We have Yahweh 45, 1 through 13. I'll read it quickly. Thus said Yahweh to the anointed, to Koresh, whose right hand I have grasped to subdue nations before him, and ungird the loins of sovereigns, to open before him the double doors, so that gates are not shut. I go before you and make the crooked places straight. I shatter the gates of bronze and pull down and cut down the bars of iron. And I shall give you the treasures of darkness and hoarded wealth of the secret places, so that you know that I, Yahweh, who is calling you by your name, am the Elohim of Israel. For the sake of Yahweh, my servant of Israel, my chosen, I also call you by your name. I gave you a title, though you have not known me. I am Yahweh, and there is none else. There are no mighty ones besides me. I gird you, though you have not known me, so that they know from the rising of the sun and from the west that there is none but me. I am Yahweh, and there is none else, forming light and creating darkness, making peace and creating evil. I, Yahweh, do all these. Rain down, O Shemaim, from above, and let clouds pour down righteousness. Let the earth open. Let them bring forth deliverance, and let righteousness spring up together. I, Yahweh, have cleared it. And he goes on straight to the 13th verse, where he says, again, he speaks of, and I'm just going to jump down to verse 13. He says, I have stirred him up, referring to Koresh, in righteousness, and all his ways I make straight. He builds my city and lets my exiles go, not for price nor reward, declares Yahweh. So here Yahweh is actually prophesying that Koresh would be the one responsible for making the decree to Israel to return from exile, and that he would build the city of Jerusalem and release the exile. These words were uttered by Yeshua long before Yehuda went into exile. That's Yeshayahu. Now we're talking about Israel coming out of exile, how they come out of exile. So Yahweh left nothing to chance. And this history too, because this portion is included in Daniel's 70th prophecy, where he speaks of from the time of the going forward of the decree to build Jerusalem until so and so. So knowing these ahead of time can actually help you put Koresh right where Daniel is speaking of, and the time that Koresh actually said that, which would have been around 539 BCE. Bars of constraint removed. Koresh is conquering Babylon the very night Belteshazzar saw the handwriting on the wall. Established the Medo-Persian Empire that's punishing Babylon for its atrocities, as we read earlier. That Yahweh said he would do to Babylon for their own evil. So the instrument of punishment is now being punished. And that's recorded in Jeremiah 51, 36 to 45, and you can read that sometime. Many Israelites, but this is what we should understand here. Even though the bars of constraints have been removed, Israel has been told that they are free to go back and rebuild. Many Israelites, now wealthy because of assimilation in Babylonian society, are reluctant to leave their acquired wealth and preferred to assist those whose heart was to return to the land and return to Yahweh. So the way they said is, look here, be doing good right where we are. We can give you some money. Y'all won't go, you have to go. It's not so much like today. There are people locked in the Babylonian system, and because it interferes with their heart is not for the Torah, but rather toward materialism, they don't mind staying in Babylon and riding the fence and letting you know that if you want to go and walk the straight path, get out of Babylon, then that's good. If you need some help getting out of Babylon, and help you out of Babylon, but I'm doing good in Babylon. That's the mentality. And that is what needs to be broken in our day. And we pray that the Ruach HaKodesh would break it so that the call, come out of Babylon, my people, would take place. And we're going to wrap up right after this, Daniel 9, 1 through 3. Though the decree was given by Koresh in 539 BCE, the first small group who returned did so 2 years later, 537 BC. So these are the people who are really not in a hurry to go back, okay? Imagine that. You're in exile in a captive land, but you do so good in captivity and you want to go back to freedom. Now, there was a crew that left, and this would be Zerubbabel, Yeshua, Ezra, Nehemiah, etc., according to Ezra chapter 1, 1 through 2, 2, 1, and also Zechariah chapter 1, 1 through 6, and verse 12. Now, we don't have time to go through all of these tonight, but we will be looking at this again. And we've only covered at least 100 years history. And there's so much more in this time period, but we're going to see that even as we go further, there's so much more for us today to unpack, to understand, and to make application. So with that, comments, questions, discussion, everybody? Are there any comments or questions concerning tonight's study? Feel free to just ask a question now.
Not specifically with regard to tonight's study, but I just wondered while we were studying, if we are going to be provided with cities of refuge, we're all over the place. How I always wonder how Yah will get his people together to the cities of refuge, because there's the Bohemian Zoom group. I'm not saying it's coming yet, but the Dominicans, there are people in Africa, people in India. I always think that there's strength in numbers. So if everybody was on the same landmass or close, it would sort of, I don't want to use the word give us more confidence, because our confidence is not in each other, but
Right.
yeah. But let's just be honest in saying it would feel better if everybody was on the same landmass, you know? I don't want to lie, because Yah sees my heart, you know?
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, because to be honest with you, I was thinking for a very long time, I knew of the cities of refuge, and I always was looking for the place, thinking it's one singular place. But Yah has led me to believe that it won't be a singular place. That wherever we are, and wherever his people choose to be, for instance, he wants the communities of refuge established where we are. And he will identify those places, because it's not every single place. Those who have to move to relocate to a place of refuge, he will make that arrangement. But right now, everybody should be establishing these communities of refuge. And also, while establishing communities of refuge, should be seeking to return to the Torah, because the Torah is the constitution that will govern those communities outside of the Babylonian system. The Babylonian system itself, we will be independent of it, and preparation for it has to take place now. Now, the fact is, the network of communities is what gives the strength. Not necessarily us bodily being together, but to be on one accord in each community. In case, for instance, one community, their country has turned so aggressive against them, and they're looking for a way to escape, another community in another location is where they escape to, and using Yah's wisdom to get there. And when they get there, there is no conflict or friction in assimilation. Reason being, all of them are of the same mind, submitted to the Ruach HaKodesh, and walking accordingly. So the thing is, for Yah's people in the communities where they are, and I truly believe that Yah has raised up men for this generation to do exactly that. When I say men, I'm talking about mankind, women, both men and women, whom he's put his spirit in to work together to make sure that these communities are established and they are networked and tied together. Not that one community will be controlling another, but they are working with the same mindset as the early assembly. As a matter of fact, you could look at the early assembly as the best example. Once the communities were established in the various countries, they supported each other. Who had need was supported. And it started right from the central point in Jerusalem, where they they began in that community setting the precedent on what should be done in other communities, so that as they were selling what they had and sharing among themselves and making sure everybody had and was provided for within that community. When I remember in reading Acts, there was a time when there was a famine in Jerusalem, and the other communities actually had to send support to Jerusalem. And then too, those other communities would be where the Nazarene believers would move to or travel to or stop in and live in their travels. This is what we should be seeing right now, what we should be working to right now while the opportunity exists, because the time will come and the opportunity is taken from us completely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, the leaders in the areas where Yah has placed them, each one of them are aware of the need of the city of refuge. And I'm saying that even though I don't know them, but Yah has assured me that this is what is happening, and this is the first time I'm sharing it like this with anybody on this platform. But yeah, that is what Yah is doing, and those who belong to Him do recognize it, because you are speaking about cities of refuge, Imavik, because Yah has placed the same vision in you, and you're looking for that community, that refuge, which all of us should be doing. But if where you're at there's no community, that is when Yah will help you to get to their community, to be protected during that time, because His remnant will be protected, according to Hazan, Revelation 12:17. He provides a place in the wilderness, and He protects those who keep the commandments of Yah and the testimony of Adon Yahusha.
Okay, hallelujah.
Praise Yah. Okay. Anybody else with a comment or discussion? Because even as our ancestors are returning from exile, that's where we left off. So also this is the time, the prophetic time, that our captivities are being turned. Anybody? Well, there's some information that I do hope that you took down some of those scriptures. We'll revisit the scriptures that have been addressed. And if there are any questions, please feel free to contact and let's talk. Okay. Before I go, let me ask one more time. Comments, questions? Okay. I do hope though that all that was spoken with clarity, so that there's no misunderstanding in what we say. Okay. But if clarification is needed, I am more than willing to explain myself. Praise Yah. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Good to see my beloved brother, Shar Denzel. And I think we have a guest on the platform, LGE LM G900. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you feel like it, you can actually greet the platform. But there's no pressure if you don't want to. Okay. So in this, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And I do pray that everybody has been edified. Let's continue to work, because we are living in the prophetic time. So with that, I want to ask our beloved Zakan to please close us